Hi, I'm Billy Busch, and let me tell you a little bit about my story. So to give you a little bit of history and where I come from, I'll take you back to my great-grandfather. He was the Busch that immigrated from Germany to St. Louis. When he got here, he met his wife, Lily Anheuser, and her father owned a soap factory in St. Louis. And he also owned a brewery that was not doing well. It was actually almost out of business. He turned to his son-in-law, Adolphus, and asked if he would like to make a go of it with that brewery. And of course Adolphus said yes, and him and Lily Anheuser renamed it, and they called it Anheuser-Busch. Well, I think you all know a lot about that history, but he was the one that made Budweiser and came up with a recipe for Budweiser and branded that name. And upon his death in the early 1900s, his son August Sr., who would be of course my grandfather, took over the company. His main job was to keep the company going through 13 years of prohibition. And he was able to do that, and it cost him his life because of the stress it took to keep 3,000 people employed when you couldn't sell alcohol in the United States. It was very, very difficult on him. But he was able to do it because he was innovative, and he came out with other brands, syrup, near beer, which is non-alcoholic beer, soda, all these brands that they were able to produce and sell during the time of Prohibition. When Prohibition ended, which was 1933, he lived another year and then passed away, and his son, who would be my uncle, Adolphus, took over the company. He ran the company, and the company was flourishing at that time because a lot of breweries had shut down during that 13 years of Prohibition, and Anheuser-Busch was one that was able to continue. So the company flourished, and they came out with the 8-horse hitch, the Clydesdale 8-horse hitch, and were wonderful marketers. And when I say they, his brother, my dad, was helping him kind of hand in hand at the time. He ended up dying at a young age, which allowed my father to take over the company. My father is August A. Busch Jr. He was better known as Gussie, and he was a great marketing guy, a great people person. He opened up several breweries around the United States, and he opened up theme parks around those breweries. A lot of you would know him as Busch Gardens. He also opened up Grant's Farm, and that's where I grew up in 1954 to the public. That's actually what gave him the idea to open up these theme parks around the breweries. And he was kind of a genius when it came to that marketing and that PR and understanding how to get loyal drinkers behind the brands. He also bought the St. Louis Cardinals back in 1953, and that was a big selling point for the company at that time also. It continued on after he stepped back. My brother, August Busch III, continued the company, continued running the company. He would have also been the 4th generation, like I am, and he did a lot of great things. He actually was able to get the company to 50% market share in the United States. So that meant 1 out of every 2 beers that were being drank in the United States was an Anheuser-Busch product. Later on, his son, August Busch IV, who'd be my nephew, ran the brewery. He'd be the 5th generation, and he continued the company going for a couple years, and then it was bought by InBev. So my family put their heart and soul into running the brewery, and I grew up around it. I've been involved in the brewing business all my life, through the marketing side of Grant's Farm and also through the distribution side. I was a part owner and worked at 2 different distributorships in the United States, one in Florida and one in Texas. So I got a pretty good understanding of the business, and I really got a good understanding of how important the business was and is to my family. And that's why at this time, my wife, Christy, and our 7 kids and I decided that we would keep that legacy going that we had for 150 years that came to an end in 2008 when InBev took over Anheuser-Busch. So we formed the William K. Busch Brewing Company in 2011 and rolled out with our 2 brands, Kräftig and Kräftig Light. And we are at this time continuing that legacy and doing very well with it. Our beers win awards all over the United States and internationally for quality and taste. And we're very happy with the way things are going, and we're growing our business, and we're writing chapter 2 of the Busch Brewing legacy.